Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Vana vedu.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Charumbira. Welcome to the
Okay.
space.
So
Go ahead.
thanks for the opportunity. Yeah. Was the opposition, I'm sure, zvaita vana biti yes, supporters Chamisa anotarisira kuti probably angadai anga aripo, but iye kana ataura ega kuti I would rather stand alone, then hatisi kuziva kuti ari kuda kuuya neapproach ipi. But anyway, uyu takaudzwa kudhara kuti musii, saka tiri kungotaurawo hedu. But ndiri kuti vana biti zvavaita vachazokwanisa here kunyatsokubatana vachienderera mberi pasisazoiti zvakazoitika zvokuti vanhu vanopedzisira vakunzi uyu akuzobva akuita so, uyu akuita so, or vachaita sei kusangana nevanhu, because I think it's the most important part yethis initiative yavari kuda kunge vachiita, or activism, or whatever zvavari kuda kuti vastrategy vavari kushanda nayo, because kupinda muvanhu ka vanotaurawo zvavanotaura, but vakapinda muvanhu ndo pavachawana power. So inini I would rather listen to them, because ndikavashora futi ka I don't think it's fair, because neni ndiri kudawo munhu anondibatsira as an opposition supporter kuti tiwane maleaders. Kana tisina maleaders tikazonge taanavo taakutanga kuita question kuti who are these guys. We would rather have Chamisa than these guys, but Chamisa wacho haasiri kuonekera. So inini I support vana biti, but tongoda chete kuziva kuti chii chavachaita, ngavachiramba vachitipawo ma-updates, vachaita sei, vachasvika kwatiri here, and sei and rini, because we can't wait. I can't wait.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Charumbira. So, smarters, here we are. We are regarded as the most educated individuals in Africa, reckoned for that. And people respect us. We have excelled, everywhere we have gone as the Zimbabweans. And clearly, when something like this happens, we got to, to stand up and to look at the nitty-gritties of what is going on. So clearly, this is something that somebody would regard as a strategy. But then we know that for you to have a strategy without somebody else who is well known, Advocate Nelson Chamisa, like it or not, people are talking about, there's so many people who say, I will only join the opposition if there's, Advocate Nelson Chamisa. We have heard even from Hopewell himself, he said, unless and until he gives the baton to somebody else, then nothing is going to really happen in the opposition. But now we have this group of individuals coming together and wanting to chart a way forward without, Advocate Nelson Chamisa's picture on that group. So clearly he is not going to be there. Well, Two Boys suggested that Jameson Timber is there and he has been sent by Advocate Nelson Chamisa. But Hot City Empire has shared with me a video of Advocate Nelson Chamisa suggesting that he can as well stand alone. So when it comes to these smarters, let us talk real things here. We are talking about culture. The people that you see on that poster, the individual entities that have been selected there, are they culturally aligned? Then you look at the issue of structure. Are they capable of putting up a structure which is better than what people have been accusing the Citizen Coalition for Change of having deficiencies in? Then we look at the issue of resource allocation. You cannot run a party without money. We have seen it everywhere. Without money, you cannot go anywhere. Who among them has the ability to make a contribution? And what sort of contribution can they make to such an extent that they can run a viable alternative in Zimbabwe at this particular juncture? Smarters, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Host, Hulu. Rudo, good to see you. Zimbabweans, hope you guys are doing well. initially when you made your submission, Hulu, I was like, I think you are very much in love with McKinsey. You know, when you were saying, talking about the strategy, the structure, the staff and all that, I was like, oh man, are we going to the 7S model of McKinsey here? Right. But maybe if I could dwell on that one a bit before I come back to your questions. And or maybe let me ask and to mention that, you know, it's good to see our opposition leaders standing up and to do something, not to just sit back and wait for Nelson Chamisa, right? But the first point, Hulu, that I want us to maybe dwell on, if I were to look at the McKinsey the way you quoted it initially, there is a very important S, which is the shared value. And I think that's what we are seeing from our opposition politics. It's something that I think we have lagged in the past, to say, do we have a shared vision, right? Do we have a common objective, right? I think in one of the spaces we spoke about the problem of a problem definition. To say, as Zimbabweans, it looks like many a times we struggle to draw the problem, to say this is our problem statement. Then from that problem statement, you try to devise, you know, different tactics and different strategies, you know, to fight that problem or to bring solutions. But what I'm seeing here from the you know, the leaders who are on this poster, I'm seeing the consensus ad idem, right? I'm seeing the meeting of the minds, and they are converging on one problem, to say we have a ZANU-PF problem, right? And that ZANU-PF problem, we really need to go out there and fight it. Because Hulu, if you look at our history, or the history of, you know, the ZANU-PF, or our most recent history, and I feel ZANU-PF has managed to win on the front of silencing, you know, different voices, be it from student politics, be it from the churches, corporates, private sector. We cannot talk about those ones. The same with the public sector. So that's ZANU-PF. So it looks like everyone is just waiting to say, what is Chamisa going to say, right? And in strategic management, you would know that we have a problem when you are that predictable, right? So if you're going to be fighting dictatorship, and you are that predictable, you have all the initiatives, all the strategies centralized or centered on one person, then you have a problem, right? Because the moment ZANU-PF, you know, decides to attack, arrest, or even kill Nelson Chamisa, it means you are going to start from a negative. I think that's where the issue is. But now when we are seeing people converging, people who are opposed to ZANU-PF, it becomes much easier, even for President Nelson. For me, that's how I look at it, right? It becomes much easier, not just for President Nelson Chamisa, but for other, you know, people who are opposed to the 2030 nonsense, right? It becomes easier for even people in ZANU-PF who are not for the amendment of the constitution, because at the end of the day, it's not serving the interests of Zimbabweans. So that's where we are. I think we are coming from an area, or from a point where we had just one man standing, right? I support this one team. It's a football team, and in that team there's only one star player, Cristiano Ronaldo or Lionel Messi, right? He's the one who is going to do all the defensive work. He's the one who is going to do all the midfield work, and you are relying on the same guy to score the goals for you, right? It becomes easier for, you know, there was this Real Madrid defender. I'm forgetting his name. His name, but he used to wear number 4, Goma Two Boy, right? So Real Madrid, when they were going to play in the Champions League final against Liverpool, they identified and realized that Liverpool relied on Mohamed Salah. He was the only guy who was capable to cause damage. So what did they? Ramos, yes. Thank you. So what did Ramos do? Right? At the beginning of the match, you went for Salah and injured his shoulder. Right? That way, Salah was out. He could not play. And that was the end of Liverpool that year. Right. And that's the problem now when you try to say, no, Nelson Chamisa should be everywhere. We understand his strengths, but I think it's also important to also understand his weaknesses. Right? So President Nelson Chamisa is not perfect. He is coming through and you will need support from other guys who are able, other guys who are capable. If I were to put maybe President Nelson Chamisa plus Tendai Beat plus Ngari Vume, plus Job Sikala, I'm looking at guys who are bringing distinctive capabilities, right? Guys who are bringing in their different strengths to form a formidable team, right? Whilst our president is very charismatic, he's one person who will bring integrity, he's one guy who is going to bring the critical mass, he's going to bring the masses, right? We also respect the fact that when you look at Job Sikala, he's militant, he's one guy who is going to lead from the front when it comes to maybe marching like different streets and all that. The same with Ngari Vume, or the same with Tendai Beat to bring, you know, the big words, the representation, our history, the presentation, the law, and all this, right? So this is the team that we have. But you notice that ZANU-PF has managed to play the divide and conquer, right? So what they will do is they will do separation the same way kana shumba dziri kutsvaga mhuka, right? Dziri kuhanda hulu, right? Padzinosangana negroup remhuka toda kutry kuisolate one, then they target that one. And I thought maybe ZANU-PF, they've been doing this. So they separated, isolated President Nelson Chamisa such that he would be an easy target. I'm hoping and praying that this mistake, this fatal mistake through a resolution number 1, resolution number 2 by ZANU-PF is going to make us to reset, so that we can have the church speaking again, so that we can have the student movements, you know, standing up, so that we can have the youth, right, coming back to politics, so that we could have the private sector, even the business sector, the influential people, rather than for us just to wait for politicians. And when you look at the catalog there, you see that we're not just looking at the lawyers, for instance, right? We've had problems with other professions, right? It's the nature of our politics. Because before you get into politics, you want to understand, okay, if I say something, who is going to defend me, right? The lawyers will try to say, okay, they do have colleagues, they are learned friends who can stand with them, who can stand for them. Other professions, teachers, medical doctors, where are they? They are nowhere to be seen. So I'm just hoping it's more of a, I hope it's gonna be a
Audio Jungle.